Okay, so while that heat wave grips central Canada and the Maritimes, parts of western Manitoba are paralyzed by devastating floodwaters. The city of Dauphin is under a local state of emergency after a deluge of rain hit the province's Parkland region earlier this week. The CBC's Darren McCaffrey is here for a closer look at all of that. Okay, so what more can you tell us then, Darren, about the flooding situation underway in Manitoba right now?
Yeah, it's pretty bad and it's quite widespread. So we know that I think up to 30 communities effectively are in some state of emergency, and 50 provincial roads are essentially unpassable as it stands. You get a sense of the scale of it here, really, when you look at the map about where is most affected. It is really around the city of Dauphin, as you were suggesting. It has received a lot of rain, 211 millimetres so far this last month in June, which makes the second wettest on record. And that has meant that effectively that community is having to deal with a lack of water in terms of water that it can actually use, but obviously is impassable when it comes to the streets. And we also know that, as I say, lots of roads are closed. The health service centre has had to evacuate certain people. It really, really is not a great situation at all, and it's something that has also cut off visitors to the area. Nearly 200 campers, cottages and residents of Duck Mountain Provincial Park essentially are effectively stranded. We spoke to a couple of friends about how they found themselves in the situation.
Because there's hardly any service out here, we weren't really sure what the forecast was. We did get a couple of emergency alerts saying overland flood is possible, flood risk and tornado warnings as well. And then the rain started to happen around, I would say 7 or 8 at night, and it just poured all night long and all day yesterday, all day.
It was 24 hours straight of, apparently it was 15 millimeters an hour.
Yeah.
For 24 hours.
Yeah.
Wow, incredible to hear that. So we did hear from some stranded campers there. I'm wondering also, Darren, what sort of government response we're seeing to all this?
Well, quite a large one, unsurprisingly. There's an attempt, obviously, to try and reopen, repair these roads as quickly as possible. As I said, we've seen the relocation of certain possible patients from medical centres, an attempt to effectively use all the means of the province of Manitoba to try and help effectively, whether that is with water, whether it's with sandbags, whether it is with airlift. And we heard earlier from the Manitoba Premier talking about the response.
About 100,000 sandbags. We've got large-scale, high-volume pumps that we have to get into the community to assist with the immediate flooding emergency. And so whether that comes in by fixed wing or helicopter, those are the details we're working on right now. And of course, Swans Hospital is still operational to serve the people in town. And if there are medical emergencies in some of the surrounding communities, then we will help people by air, by boat, by whatever means necessary.
By any means necessary. And the concern is this might not be over, because we've heard from the Environment and Climate Change Canada saying that there's a 60% chance that we will see further potential rain later on today. And that, of course, will only add to the problems, the worries, the issues in Manitoba.
Darren, thank you for this. That is the CBC's Darren McCaffrey reporting. So now for more on the situation on the ground, we've reached the Mayor of Dauphin, David Boziak. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning.
I understand that, of course, you're receiving updates by the minute on the situation in Dauphin. Can you bring us up to speed on what the situation is like right now?
Sure. Yesterday was a bit of a panic day. Obviously, there was water in places we haven't seen water in probably 50 years. But today is mostly focused on cleanup. We have some significant sewer issues related in our northeast end of the community, which is the lower end of the community. We're still challenged with a sewer system that was overwhelmed. And but mostly today, we're just at the foot of Riding Mountain National Park. And so when water comes through the Vermilion River, which impacted our community, it comes fast and it comes hard, but it also leaves quickly. So the difference this morning when I drove around our community compared to yesterday is we're basically dry, and now we're assessing the cleanup that's required.
You know, when we do talk about how the situation unfolded, you mentioned the timeline. It's been 50 years since you've seen something like this. Just how does it compare to typical flooding in the region? Because Dauphin isn't a stranger to that sort of activity, but perhaps not to this degree.
You're right, and what the impact for our area is the amount of rain that fell in the general area. So our neighbors to the west and to the north have been inundated with equal or even more amounts of rain than we've received. So they're essentially cut off from the southern part of the province. I would say that we're generally fortunate in the sense that when the water came, it came fast, and it's now gone. But because of the speed and the volume of water, it's caused significant damage to some of our infrastructure, and the roads in the rural areas are particularly hard hit. So we'll be assessing that today. I just got out of a meeting with city administration on what we're going to be doing over the next day or two, and it's mostly on cleanup. Our greatest concern, Artie, to be honest with you, is the situation at the Dauphin Regional Health Centre, where their basement was flooded during the storm and just during the flooding event. And that's where their generators are located. So they were without power, and a number of patients were transferred out yesterday. And we're trying to communicate with them as best we can on the situation and how long they may be out of commission, because as I mentioned, it's a regional health center, so it serves our whole area here in the Parkland region of Manitoba.
A regional health center, not being able to necessarily serve in the capacity that they'd like to would have a huge impact. You mentioned that some patients have been transferred out. What is the plan for now as you continue to assess, and at this stage, whether or not those generators are continuing to be impacted?
Right, and we were aware that yesterday they had significant pumping capacity, and so some very high volume pumps were moved in, and I think that they basically got most of the water out of the facility. Now it's a bit of a damage assessment, and I'm not the person to comment on what's happening with patients or service care. I know that emergent care is still available. They have a mobile clinic, I think, that's being established outside of the hospital area. But I believe that Prairie Mountain Health is working on alternative plans, and will be updated later on today and tomorrow on, basically what they said the state of the hospital is in and when it will be able to resume service.
We know that the province, because of course this is just one of several communities that have been hit with this flooding, and the province has requested for military supports. Do you think that's something that Dauphin may require as you continue to assess the recovery?
I'm not certain about Dauphin. I do know that all of this water that's come through our community and in the neighboring area is going to end up in Lake Dauphin. So there's municipalities around the lake that are likely going to be affected over the next week or so. But I think in the city, we will basically be managing fine. But there are significant rural municipal roads and provincial roads north and west of us that are impassable. Several bridges are out. And so I think the greater concern is mobility of people to the west and north of Dauphin to get to major centers like Brandon or Winnipeg, or to Dauphin over the next several days and weeks. So that's our greatest concern, is mobility of people in the general area.
Finally, I wanted to ask you, of course, you're wearing your mayor hat right now as you contend with the situation, but you're also a resident of Dauphin. So when you take a look around and when you've spoken to your neighbors, to other residents in the area, how are they reflecting on what has unfolded over the past 24, 48 hours?
Well, like you mentioned earlier, we've experienced this before. I think, however, several areas of our community, it's been a long time, and so the one thing that I can say is, and it's a bit of a cliche, but disasters tend to bring out the best in people. So it's the worst of times for some of our residents, but others have stepped up. They've helped their neighbors, they've helped their friends, they've helped strangers. And so when I see that level of support from the community, and I just want to shout out to the Office of the Fire Commissioner and our local fire department, and the fire departments from the south of Riding Mountain National Park that came to our aid yesterday, and they were going door to door in our north end of our community, ensuring that residents were okay and that their houses were in decent condition. So, when bad things happen, good people step up and help. And so, we are so thankful that people came to our aid. We've helped in the past when situations occurred in other communities. So there's this sense of coming together when something terrible happens, and we hopefully will be able to work through this. And someday the sun will shine again soon, and we'll be able to look back and hopefully learn from this. What can we do better next time? What might we do different next time? And how might we try and prepare for these seemingly more and more severe natural occurrences?
Well, I want to thank you for taking some time out to speak with us today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for reaching out to us.
That is Mayor Boziak, and he joined us today from Dauphin, Manitoba.